I didn't realize how tired I was of being managed until the night I caught myself apologizing to Mia for being sick. I was sitting on my couch, wrapped in a blanket, fever splitting my head open, and still saying, "Sorry, I know this ruins your plans." Something in me twisted at how automatic it felt, like muscle memory formed from months of keeping her happy so she wouldn't turn cold on me. I work at a small neighborhood bakery, nothing fancy. Early mornings, dough on my sleeves, regulars who know me by name. My life had always been simple, predictable. When Mia came in one morning, bright smile, messy hair, ordering a single chocolate croissant like it was a whole event, I thought she was just charming. She made everything feel like a shared secret. She laughed at my jokes, stayed a little too long at the counter, and told me she liked how steady I seemed. We started seeing each other soon after, and at first I liked how involved she was. She reminded me to drink more water, to stretch my back after long shifts, to stop letting people walk all over you. She said it with this warm confidence that made me feel seen. But slowly, her concern shifted into something else. She wanted to know where I was at all times. She'd question who I was texting, even if it was my sister. She'd suggest I skip hanging out with my friends because she'd had a rough day and needed me around. When I tried to push back, even gently, she'd sigh and say, "I guess I just care more than you do." It was subtle enough that I felt guilty every time, like I was the one slipping up. A pattern formed. If I made plans, she'd develop a migraine. If I didn't answer immediately, she'd send 3 worried texts followed by one accusing one. If I disagreed with her, she'd go quiet and distant until I apologized, usually for something I didn't even understand. And when I apologized, she'd soften, hug me, tell me she knew I didn't mean to be hurtful. Little things started sliding out of my life. Game nights with my friends, Sunday dinners with my family, my morning jogs. She'd get upset over them, not in a dramatic way, just enough disappointment to make me feel like choosing those things meant choosing them over her. So I stopped choosing them. By the time she had a copy of my apartment key, I'd convinced myself it was normal. She said it was because she felt safer knowing she could come by. She'd tidy things while I was at work, move my books, rearrange my kitchen cabinets, toss shirts she claimed were too worn out. I told myself she was being helpful. But the night I apologized for being sick, something in me caught on a thread I'd been ignoring. She called to ask why I sounded off. When I told her I had a fever, her voice tightened. "You didn't tell me earlier," she said. "I've been waiting for you to confirm dinner plans. I guess I'm just not a priority." I remember sitting there, phone warm against my ear, heart heavy, realizing how bizarre it was that I felt like I'd failed some invisible test. And the worst part? I almost apologized again. That was the moment a small, steady voice inside me finally spoke up. "This isn't concern. This is control." And once I heard it, I couldn't unhear it. I didn't confront her that night. I didn't slam any doors or declare anything dramatic. But something shifted. Quietly. Maybe for the first time in a long while, I started paying attention. Once I started noticing the patterns, they showed up everywhere. Mia didn't yell or guilt trip in obvious ways. She did it in these tiny nudges that felt like nothing on their own, but heavy when stacked together. If I mentioned missing my friends, she'd smile sadly and say, "I just thought spending time with me mattered more." If I got home 5 minutes later than she expected, she'd ask, "Everything okay? I just worry when you don't follow the routine we agreed on." A routine I never remembered actually agreeing to. One afternoon, I stopped by my mom's house after work without telling her. Just a quick visit. Coffee, catching up, nothing dramatic. I didn't check my phone for an hour. When I finally looked, there were 9 messages from Mia. The early ones sounded worried. The later ones sounded annoyed. The last one was, "I guess you don't care how I feel. Let me know when you're done ignoring me." When I called, trying to explain, her voice went small and trembling. "I just thought you cared enough to keep me in the loop. I would never disappear on you." The twist of guilt hit right on cue, like she'd found the exact string to pull. I apologized, even though I hadn't done anything wrong. That night, I realized my life had turned into managing her reactions. I double-checked my phone constantly. I edited what I said so she wouldn't interpret it as neglect. I spent less and less time alone because she didn't like when I withdrew. A week later came the moment everything snapped. I came home early from the bakery. Our mixer had broken, so my boss sent me home rather than pay me to stand around. When I walked into my apartment, Mia was there, sitting on my couch, scrolling through my mail like it was hers. She looked up and smiled, surprised but not embarrassed. "Oh, I figured I'd tidy up while you were out," she said. But the mail wasn't junk. She was holding my bank statement. "Why are you looking at that?" I asked. She blinked like the question confused her. "I just want to make sure you're being responsible. Money can get away from you. I'm helping." My stomach dropped. Something about the casualness of it, the ease with which she crossed another boundary, made it suddenly, painfully clear that she didn't see any boundaries at all. I took the papers from her hand, and she looked wounded, like I'd just shoved her. "I didn't think you'd react like this," she whispered. "I guess I misread how close we were." The guilt hit me again, automatic as breathing, but this time it ran into something harder, something that didn't budge. "No," I said quietly. "You didn't misread anything, you just didn't ask." Her expression flickered, just for a second, sharp, calculating, before she covered it with hurt. "I'm only trying to help. You make it so hard to love you." That was it. The line that finally settled everything inside me. She wasn't helping me, she was managing me. And every time I questioned it, she twisted things until I doubted myself. Something inside me steadied. A quiet resolve. Nothing fiery or dramatic. Just a simple, solid understanding. I was done. Not in the sense of storming out or breaking up on the spot. That would just give her something to pull me back with. Another apology cycle. Another round of guilt. No. If Mia liked control, then the only way to actually get out was to take that control away from her first, piece by piece. And that meant planning. I didn't show it on my face. I didn't change my tone. I sat beside her, made tea, listened as she talked about her stressful day. She didn't notice anything off. But inside, something had finally clicked into place. If she wanted to keep me small, predictable, and manageable, I'd let her think she had me exactly where she wanted me. Just long enough to walk away without her holding any strings. The first step was simple. Stop reacting. Mia's entire system depended on me giving her emotional feedback she could twist. If I didn't feed the cycle, she couldn't steer it. So I started answering her questions with calm, basic replies. No defensiveness, no long explanations. I didn't argue when she hinted I'd disappointed her. I didn't rush to fix anything. At first, she didn't notice, but after a few days, she began testing me. One evening, she showed up at my apartment, unannounced, holding takeout. "You didn't text me all afternoon," she said lightly. "Everything okay?" "Yeah," I said. "Just busy." She waited for more, an apology, an explanation, something. I didn't give it. That was when she started pushing harder. She asked to see my phone for a funny video, a trick she'd used before to scan my notifications. Instead of panicking or clutching it, I just handed it over. The lock screen showed nothing she could weaponize, because I'd already muted every group chat, cleared old messages, and set up backed-up copies of everything she'd ever sent me, especially the ones where she pressured or manipulated me. She scrolled so long it became obvious she wasn't looking for a video. I didn't comment. She finally put it down, annoyed she hadn't found anything. A few days later, she said, "I feel like you've been distant. Are you upset with me?" Normally, this question threw me into a spiral. This time, I shrugged. "No, just tired." She frowned. "You don't seem like yourself." I kept my tone neutral. "I'm fine." And because she had nothing to latch onto, no emotion, no guilt, she had to let it drop. Meanwhile, I worked on the second part of the plan, reclaiming my life without setting off alarms. I started jogging again before sunrise, while she was still asleep. I grabbed coffee with my coworkers after my shift. I visited my mom on my way home. I didn't post anything, didn't mention these outings unless she asked directly. And when she did, I gave simple, unembellished answers she couldn't twist. I never lied. I just stopped giving her angles. And the third step? Preparing to leave without letting her derail it. I gathered every spare key she had. She kept one in her purse and another at her place, in case of emergencies. Getting them back without suspicion took time. Offhand jokes, casual requests, and one moment where I pretended to lock myself out just so she'd lend me the spare. I changed every password she'd pressured me into sharing: banking, utilities, email. Quietly, one by one. I let my friends back in, checking in with people I hadn't seen in months. They noticed the change immediately. How much lighter I sounded. But I asked them not to say anything publicly. Mia monitored everything that wasn't nailed down. The last step came almost by accident. I was wiping down tables at the bakery when my coworker Jenna mentioned seeing Mia outside earlier. "She's been coming by a lot," Jenna said, "like she's checking up on you." I froze, because that was exactly what she was doing, but hearing it from someone else made the reality sharper. Still, I didn't rush. I didn't confront. I didn't give her anything to control the narrative. Instead, I pretended everything was normal for 2 more quiet, calculated weeks. Then, one evening, after a calm, uneventful dinner at my place, exactly the kind she liked because it made her feel secure, I waited until she went home. I packed every one of her belongings into a small box she'd once used for her art supplies. I set it gently by the door. I blocked her number. I turned off location sharing she'd pressured me into enabling months earlier. Then I sat down on my couch, in my apartment that finally felt like mine again, and let my entire body exhale. Her reaction would come, I knew that. But for the first time, she wouldn't have access to my mind, my schedule, or my emotions. She'd built her hold on me by pulling strings. I just cut every one of them at once. Mia's reaction came fast, faster than I expected. I woke up to a flood of messages on every platform she could still access. They ranged from confused to hurt to vaguely threatening, all in her familiar pattern. "I don't understand what I did. You're abandoning me when I need you most. If you don't talk to me, I'll just come over so we can fix this." But none of them reached my phone. They sat unread behind new filters I'd set up the night before. Around noon, Jenna at the bakery told me, "Your girlfriend came by again. She looked mad." I shrugged and kept kneading dough. "We're not together anymore." Saying it out loud felt strangely quiet, like stating the weather. Mia didn't stop easily. When I got home, she was standing outside my building, arms folded, trying to look composed and failing. She rushed toward me the second she saw me. "We need to talk," she said. Not asked, declared. I kept my voice steady. "There's nothing to talk about." She blinked, stunned by the directness. "You can't just cut me out, after everything I've done for you." I didn't argue. Arguing was what she wanted, something she could twist, something she could expand into an entire scene. Instead, I gently set the box of her things at her feet. "You crossed too many boundaries," I said. "I'm choosing to leave it behind." She scoffed, wrapping her arms tighter across her chest. "So this is you being dramatic?" "No," I said. "This is me being done." She tried every tactic she had left. Sadness, anger, confusion. She talked over me, insisting I owed her explanations, insisting she knew the real me better than anyone. But the longer she talked, the clearer it became she wasn't devastated. I wasn't breaking her heart. I was breaking her control. When she realized nothing was working, her expression flattened. "You'll regret this," she said. "People don't treat me like this." "That's the point," I replied. I walked inside and buzzed the door closed behind me. She stayed out there for a while, pacing, waiting for me to cave. I didn't. Eventually, she left, her box tucked under her arm, her steps sharp on the sidewalk. For weeks after, she tried reaching me through mutual acquaintances, little probing messages, just checking in, seeing if she still had a thread to pull. But I'd already explained the situation to everyone who mattered in a calm, factual way. The more she pushed, the quicker people noticed the pattern. Her influence shrank fast once it wasn't fed. Meanwhile, my life quietly expanded back into its original shape. I started going for early runs again. I spent evenings at my mom's house, helping her with her garden. I went out with friends who teased me for disappearing and welcomed me back without questions. My apartment felt like mine again, my books where I left them, my things untouched, silence no longer tinged with tension. There wasn't some triumphant movie moment, no dramatic confrontation, no final monologue. Just a slow, steady relief that grew each day. I didn't have to shrink myself for someone else's comfort. The moral, if there was one, came down to something simple. Manipulation doesn't always look like shouting or threats. Sometimes it looks like concern that's too sharp, love that comes with conditions, help that crosses boundaries you didn't realize were being erased. And revenge, real revenge, isn't about destroying the other person. It's about reclaiming the pieces of yourself they tried to hold on to. Walking away was the quietest thing I'd ever done, but it was also the loudest answer I'd ever given.